If you are struggling with side planks, if you're not sure which modification you should take, if you can't hold them for a very long time, if you want to get better at them, or if you want to know why they're important to begin with, this video is going to go through all of that and more. So side planks, really helpful for your shoulders, good for preventing shoulder injury, but they're hard to do. So I'll show you some modifications in this video, give you some progressions about how to get better over time. By the end of this video, you'll have a plan to get better with side planks, and hopefully you'll be getting stronger in side planks in just a few weeks. Be sure to like the video if you find it useful, leave a comment, if you have some questions, and subscribe. All right, let's do this. So let's start with the different variations of side plank. So I'll go straight to the most advanced one, because I think this is the one that a lot of people try to go straight to, and what you probably shouldn't be doing. So you can also do side planks, by the way. You can do them on your forearms, or you can do them with your hand planted. On the forearm is going to be more difficult. So I usually like to do the forearm just because it helps to get more shoulder activity. It gets more upper back involvement, whereas if you're just doing the hand down, it's going to be less so. And what I like about that engagement in the upper back is that's something that we don't get a lot of in body weight or yoga. So if we can get those upper back muscles working, it's a really good thing to do. So this is what this is kind of the, I don't know, I can't call this like the basic, the standard, but this is what, if you were doing most exercise, this is kind of what the standard level of side plank would be. Now, I know that this is not the standard for all general fitness levels, but if you're going into like a boot camp class or something, this is kind of the expectation of side plank. So from here, making it more difficult, you can bring the leg up in the air, you can bring the arm up in the air, and that's going to be the most difficult version of side plank. Now, let's go through a logical progression from easy to there. So the easiest way to do this is with your knees on the ground and your knees stacked and your legs bent, kind of like what you see me doing here. And then your forearms planted, still elbow under the shoulder, and then lifting the hips in the air. And if you need to, you can have your left hand on the ground here for support. That's like the most basic level. That's what I would do if you're struggling with this. So keeping this left hand kind of hanging out in front of your body for support. And then if you can, getting to the point where you can get that left hand on the left hip. Now, something else that people need to be aware of as side plank is that you want to have your body facing to the outside. So I see a lot of people doing side plank, and maybe they're scared. Maybe you're scared of falling backwards. Maybe you just don't know what your body looks like, but a lot of people kind of do side plank with their body facing forward and down. So you want to make sure that your left, whichever shoulder is up, you want to make sure that that shoulder is rolled back. So if you're looking at yourself from the ceiling, it should be a straight line from shoulder to shoulder to elbow. Okay, so this is how we want to do side plank in terms of orientation, getting your body facing to the outside. Now, the other part of side plank is making sure that your hips are up in the air. So sometimes I'll see people doing side planks and the hips are kind of down here like this, or you'll want to get your leg off the ground and you do something like this, but your hip is sagging down to the ground. It's much more important that you get your hips up off the ground. So you want to be able to have full flexion through this hip, meaning you want this hip driving up as high as it possibly can, and you want to feel that outside of your glute working in a side plank. If you don't feel that, if you can't get that full flexion, getting the hips up like that, then you need to go down to a lower modification. So we want to make sure that just to recap, we want to make sure that the elbow is under the shoulder, your body is facing to the outside, that you're feeling this in the upper back muscles, not in the front of your body, and then the hips are driving up really high here. So you're driving the hips up as high as you can, just trying to get a sense of the engagement here. So you're going to have a lot of intensity through that outer left hip, and then through the left shoulder and the arm here. So those are some other things you want to keep in mind. Now, if you can have those things, if you have that good upper back engagement, if you have the good hip engagement, your hips are driving up, now we can talk about going into a more difficult variation. So from the knees down situation, we can go to legs spread. So stagger stance. So instead of resting one foot on top of the other, you're coming into a staggered stance, so you're resting, both feet are on the ground. All the same things apply that we just went through in the more basic variation. The hips are driving up, the shoulder is above the elbow, and the chest is facing to the outside. One other thing you want to consider, some people tend to overcompensate the roll. So they aren't facing the hips downward, but sometimes they roll back too far and the left hip comes behind the right hip. So that would look like this. So notice how my hips are kind of facing upward and not to the outside. So you do want to make sure that the hips stay stacked. And best way to do that is to just look at yourself as you're doing it. But keep in mind, you can also take a video of yourself, or you can use a mirror as you're doing this, and that can also help. Guys, if you want to get better at side plank as well as other yoga postures, I've got a free 7-day Beginner's Yoga for Men challenge made specifically for guys who are new to yoga or inflexible. It's free to sign up, no credit card required. Sign up for it at the link in the description below when the video is finished. So that second variation, again, staggering the stance, driving the hips up, making sure that your shoulders, your chest are facing to the outside, not facing upward, and also not facing downward. And then going up to level 3, that's when we can stack the feet on top of one another, drive the hips up. Again, the hips driving up, really important here. Left shoulder on top of the right shoulder, so a straight line. If you're extending the arm up, straight line from your left hand down to the right elbow. Hips stay high. That's something that you have to keep remembering to do. Your hips are going to get lazy and come down to the ground as you're doing it. Now, let's talk about some ways to get stronger as you're doing this. So one way that you can do it is just by holding it for as long as you can. So it's a good idea to maybe do a 1-rep max and just test yourself and see how long you can hold this with good technique. And then you can start choosing a certain percentage of that max hold time, maybe 60%, maybe 70%, and then doing 3 sets of those. So you're doing time sets, you're giving yourself a break in between those sets, maybe 1 to 2 minute break between sets. Make sure you're switching sides, doing both sides. And then over time, you'll slowly increase those, progressive overload. So if you do 30 seconds to start, you can do 30 seconds. So if you can hold it for 1 minute, let's take that as a metric. Then we're going to do about 60 to 70% of that max, and we're going to hold maybe 35, 40 seconds. 3 sets of those, giving yourself 40 seconds rest between sets, making sure that you're doing both sides. And then the next week, you're going to go up to doing 45 seconds. And then after that, 50 seconds, and 55 seconds, or 60 seconds. So you're slowly increasing the duration of the holds, using a timer if you need to, but also being aware that some days you're not going to be as strong as on other days. So you're not always, it's not a completely linear progression. You're not always going to be better, but hopefully it's a stock market of ups and downs, slowly going upward over time. So, and then something else that you can do is you can actually do negative reps of side planks. So if you want, you can go up into the side plank, and then you can slowly lower yourself down, and then go back up, and then slowly lower yourself down. And that's another way to build strength. Doing the eccentric portion of the movement, so the negative portion of the movement, helps you to build strength. So doing some reps of those, again, maybe 3 sets of 10, depending on how many you can do, maybe 3 sets of 15. But I'm doing reps and focusing on the eccentric portion can also help there. Now, as far as getting stronger doing these during the workouts, if you're not going to do these outside of the workouts, most people probably won't. So addressing those people who are going to be working on side plank within Manful Yoga workouts, you want to make sure that you're using proper technique. So don't try to hold it for as long as I do if you can't do it with proper technique. That's probably going to lead to you getting little minor tweaks here and there. So you want to make sure that you're doing it with proper technique and then getting out, taking a few seconds rest if you need to. Keep in mind you can always press pause on the videos as well. So just do your best as you're doing the side plank. And if you notice that your hips are starting to falter and your shoulders rolling in and your shoulders starting to hurt or something's just not feeling right, that's a good time to just get out of it, take a little breath, reset, and then get back into it. So make sure that you are using proper technique. You can push yourself, you can breathe heavy with proper technique, but if you're getting past that point where you're using improper technique, you're not really sure what's going on, you're kind of panicking, that's a good time to get out of it. Take a few seconds rest, or just press pause. All right, guys, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like the video if you found it helpful. Leave a comment if you have some suggestions, some feedback, or some topic requests. And subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. We've got tutorials like this, follow-along videos, and much, much more for free on the Manful Yoga YouTube channel. It goes live every Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Down dog is another pose that I get a lot of questions about. If you want to check out a video on that, particularly made for men, click over here and watch that right now.